A new era begins in iRacing. $26 drivers, $25,000. This is the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship.
It's perfect, isn't it? A track built to high standard and specification for over 70 years. This is Silverstone and the 5th round of your Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship. Some wonderful action looking to bring itself today, and new directives brought in have really put themselves into the fold. My name's Jake Sperry. Joining alongside for the ride is, of course, Peter Mackay and Kenneth Bueno to bring you through all of this. Kenneth, this is where you need to be absolutely on it here today. That new tyre directive coming in, you must start the race on the tyre that you qualified on, and already we are seeing some amazing differences on strategy today.
Well, strategy is going to be the big name of the game, Jake. It's been like that all season long, but with this new tire rule, it is going to make things all the more exciting. And how about it at a track like Silverstone, so fast, so historic. At the halfway mark of the season, we're getting ready for a really tight championship battle. Strategy is going to play all the role in it.
Count them, 1, 2, 3 points. That's all we've got at the top of the championship right now. Peter, this is a track like no other, but let's take a look at the points first and foremost. Peter Berryman, make sure it is Apex Racing 1 and 2 right now, the 50 ahead of the 90 by 3 points. 13 back to Martin van Lozenord, the most winningest driver in this field in the 69 Predator car there. He's 13 back. Michele Costantini at 16, and a bit of a gap back to Ben Fuller there in 5th place. 32 points adrift on 46 points outright. What you can say from this, though, as we take a look at the home of British sim racing in the form of Silverstone, is that this track has absolutely everything. It's built to challenge and punish a car.
That it is, Jake. Yeah, it's a proper demand on any race car, and there's some hugely fast corners as well, and it is just purpose-built for a proper Grand Prix racing car. It's been a part of British motorsport since the very beginning. It's been home to the British Grand Prix on and off since 1950. And the drivers in the Force Dynamic Dallara iRacing World Championship are going to love it today, I am sure. And tyres is, I'm sure, something we're going to talk about, and specifically managing those tyres as well and keeping them up to their optimum performance is going to be very tricky around this very flat but very challenging Grand Prix circuit.
Every corner is built to destroy tyres. You look at it, every single hairpin, every single attempt. It's not a case of a stop and start. It's a case of carrying momentum as you go through. We were talking about how difficult everything was going to be in strategy. Here is the grid right now. Marcos Nunez, the only driver today who started on the soft compound red wall tyre. He's on pole position. Everybody else is on the white walled hard, as Ben Fuller will be alongside there in 2nd position. You've got Martin van Lozenord in 3rd, the championship leader Peter Berryman starting from 4th position on the grid, and his nearest challenger, his own teammate, just behind in 5th position, Johan Haas, who has not failed to finish outside the podium. There's Matteo Ugolotti for TQ Engineering. He starts 7th with Przemysław Lemonek in 8th place, and David Toft looked really good in practice. He starts 9th with Valentin Mandanark there for R8G in 10th position. Row 6, we'll see Marcus Jensen and Florian Lebigra there looking to make their challenge. Yaltayan for MB Racing will be hoping for a good start from the 7th row with Tamas Shimon. Sam Keiter has been struggling a little bit with toothache over the course of the week. He's going to have a difficult challenge from 16th on the grid with Kane Halliburton and James J. Pinsker there on row 9 overall. Omar Bahar goes from 19th with Brian Lockwood there in 20th. The last driver to set a time was Alejandro Del Campo for Euromaster Esports. And then 2 drivers did not set a time. Jose Soria, of course, the teammate to Marcos Nunez. And then down at the very, very back of the field, P25, is the number 7 of Gio Cortese, who will not be taking himself into a qualifying time, but we'll see how far he'll go up the grid as drivers look to get themselves ready and waiting here today. It is 40 laps worth of racing action. They know what the challenge is in front of them. This track will only heat up from where we are right now. We are in morning conditions. It's coming up towards 8:45 in the morning in sim time. So this is going to be an important challenge. What is the challenge going to be for car number 23 out there on the softs? We weren't expecting anyone to go that aggressive, but it might just be a flip of the script in terms of strategy. This is where battles are made. This is where you start writing your name in headlights. Round 5 of 12. There's the green, there's the go, and we are underway. It's a slow start from Van Loozenhoorn. He's going to be immediately challenged here into 1, and so too for the race lead. Nunez in a bit of trouble. He's already going to lose it. Ben Fuller with a great charge as they head themselves to the village. Turn number 3 out on track as they slide on through and make sure they all get a clean start. Looks like everybody's good, and immediately it's about defense in the early goings. The 50-year Berryman has already got himself up into 2nd position, and Van Loozenhoorn, not the best getaway, fighting already Johan Hart as we look a little bit there at this battle. Look at the crossover as they go through, Peter. Fantastic off the start. All contact there on the back of Van Loozenhoorn.
Oh, so it's a bruising start once again for Van Loozenhoorn. This is what happened to him 2 races ago, and it really cost the Dutchman, but he bounced back last time with a win at Monza. But so far, it's the STK Gaming and Apex Racing Group. Ben Fuller and Peter Berryman getting away as we've got a few casualties after lap 1.
Yeah, that looks like it's the 28 machine that's gone into trouble. So I think that is Sam Keita, who was struggling. Costantini as well, by the way, is damage to the front wing. So he's in trouble at this stage. But Ben Fuller, your leader at the moment, as they funnel on through onto the hangar straight for the first time. Is this going to be one of the places today where the prime overtaking opportunities are going to follow from this point onwards? Keep an eye on that. Nunez looking aggressive here in 3rd position. He's got to use the tyre early, Kenneth, because he knows he's got maybe 2 or 3 laps of a good tyre, and then it's going to start falling away here.
Yeah, Jake, we talked to the drivers yesterday, and they mentioned that the hard tires at this track do not last that long, a maximum of 6 good laps before they end up falling off and the car really gets hard to drive. And for Nunez, on the softest compound of anybody in the field, it's going to get tough as there's contact with an Apex racing car. That's Johan Hart in his machine. He goes for almost a half spin. Everybody's going to go by. That was almost disastrous for the driver of the 90, but like I said, Nunez on the soft compound tires, he's got to make the most of it on the opening laps of this race.
Wow, so a lot to have a look at then, as we'll take our little look then at the replays coming up forward for you, ladies and gentlemen. So issues there for Johan Hart, but let's take a little look at what happened earlier on. So this is the look then on what happened to Sam Keita. First and foremost, he gets through. There's a bit of a chain reaction here in the middle of the pack, and then ultimately there's the trouble, and big head-on collision there. Fortunately, there was no ramping. And now here's the second part. This is the trouble. That is Michele Costantini. It's damage to the front wing already for Michele, and there's nothing that can be done for, I believe that's Kane Halliburton, getting himself in trouble. So the 94 and the 28, this is not a good day to be a racecraft car. Both their cars in trouble as they go through. Then a little bit in the background there, Johan Hart, I believe, just making a move going through, but ultimately the start is what is needed. Fuller leads here, Peter. Berryman in 2nd. Marcos Nunez holding on for the moment in 3rd.
Well, we have been used to the Apex Racing team juggernaut at the front, but both Hart and Costantini hitting problems early on. That is quite a shocker indeed. But this is what I think we will see for the rest of the season with this new rule in the Force Dynamics iRacing Dallara World Championship, is that we're going to see unfamiliar faces at the front of the pack, throwing the soft tyre at it in qualifying. And we can see Nunez not got quite the same pace as Fuller and Berryman, but he's there and he's ruffling the feathers, and that's what we like to see as fans.
Absolutely. Front 4 looking fantastic. This is the battle, though, for 10th position on screen from Marcus Jensen, Jarl Tyen, Florian Lebigra, and Tamas Simon. all there looking to give themselves a real opportunity here of points. Top 15, of course, score their points as we look back to your leaders right now. Peter Berryman there, your championship leader, is in second position. Now, this is going to be interesting to talk about here, Kenneth, the longer that this season goes on. We saw how Ben Fuller at Monza really let off as he had a chance to win that day, but decided he would stay behind his teammates. Question's going to be, is it going to be similar now, or is it turnabout's fair play? I earned myself into the lead of this race. Give me some time to go and prove that I can win.
Well, Ben Fuller is probably looking to prove himself a little bit here, Jake, only because of the kind of the rough start he had to open the season. Watkins Glen, he qualified on pole, but a mistake with the limiter and trying to get a neutral, trying to get the right gear in the car to start the race, accidentally went too early, got penalized for it, and that could have put him on the back foot. But in this race here today from Silverstone, Fuller's going to be looking for a lot more. Of course, he's yet to find a race win in 2021, so this could be the opportunity for him. And why not do it in the race lead, controlling many of his alliance and technical teammates, as we would call it, up at the front of the field as you ride on board with last week's winner, Martin Van Lozener from Monza, currently rides P4.
He is also the most winningest driver, only driver to have 2 race wins this season, as he gives a whole heap of focus going through the middle sector, through Luffield Corner, out of the exit now, and on towards Woodcote, and the run past the old start-finish line towards Cops Corner, turn number 1, out there on track it used to be. But as they look to challenge here, the front 4 have started to pull away. They've built themselves a bit of a gap, 0.8 of a second to Matteo Ugolotti as things stand at the moment, and every single train is going to be important to manage with, especially when you've got straights like the Hanger Straight around this. The run, of course, on the Hamilton Straight as well. 2 very important straights back-to-back on this track, Peter. This is where you set up those moves, and it is going to be difficult today with the way that these corners really do make it tough for passing.
Well, I think we'll see some creative moves coming out a little bit later on, but as we've seen so far in this championship, the drivers just like to settle in the first stint or 2. We should see a 2-stop strategy so far for the drivers, so 3 separate stints. And well, we'll see what happens within them. But usually we see that last stint when the drivers really get the gloves off. But at the moment, the fastest lap, the driver in purple on our timing tower, the number 12 of Marcus Jensen.
Yeah, and that was set on lap 4 of the race. He finds himself in the middle of a very tricky train at the moment on the bottom of your screen. He's behind Valentin Mandenark and Johan Haas, desperately trying to jump up to the front 7 train, which is currently at the back of the train, is the number 11 of Przemysław Lemonek, who will be trying to get himself into play. So 2 very important battle packs being formed then in the early stages here as we are on lap 5 out of 40. And this is where you start to consider, okay, how are the tyres going to last? How is it going to go? We don't have really any data, Kenneth, on the Red Walled softs. Marcos Nunez here, if he can make it to about lap 8, lap 9, do you believe that this situation, as we're on board with him right now, as we have a little look at the schedule here, we know where the challenge is going to be next. This is the halfway of the season. Silverstone, they know that round 6 coming up, starting the second half of the season, it's Hockenheim next, and that's going to be a real challenge. But when you're on the soft, question's going to be asked, how long can that soft go? We expect lap 9. If you can get it to lap 9, you're on alternative strategy.
Well, lap 9 is going to be a lot to ask for, Jake, out of these soft tires, because I mentioned 6 laps would probably be the maximum on the hard tires, just because this track naturally gets a lot out of the tires because you've got a lot of fast corners, and this car with the downforce nobly goes full throttle through most of them. But the soft tires is going to be key here for Nunez, and in this draft is probably where he can play it safe, run behind the draft, and maybe take it a little bit easier on the opening laps, as I believe Martin Van Lozenorders just went for a pass for P3, but Nunez is going to look to keep it easy here on the opening laps if he wants to make them last. Only problem is track position is really the key part for him.
Yeah, he's got to stay in range, and he knows that behind Ugolotti was thinking about that freight training process that happens. If you start to lose a little bit of gap, you're only going to lose more, and the issue here today is just how much you're going to understeer, and it's corners like this section, Maggots, and you go through the right and the left into Beckett's, the next right, and then Chapel, the exit out onto the Hanger Straight. That is the sort of place, Peter, on a track like this where time just gets absolutely hemorrhaged.
Definitely, that's where the tyre grip is absolutely vital, as well as we can see just on the exits of the corners. Nunez now really starting to struggle. He's finding the straight line, of course, but if you don't get that exit, if you don't carry the momentum, he's in big trouble. And you can see he is just hemorrhaging positions now. Coming round to the entry to pit lane shortly. I wonder if we'll maybe see Nunez coming in to take a pit stop. Not this time by, but I think we will see him in at the next possible opportunity, because he is within the window now to do 2 stints on hard tyres and make it to the end of the race. However, on balance, you've got to say that this strategy has worked. It has put Nunez up the order from where he has been so far in the season.
You certainly agree with it. He's in 7th position. His best finish so far this season has been an 11th place. On board then, as we look at Johan Haaf, looking to charge in the number 90. He has broken clear of Marcus Jensen and co, mainly due to the fact that on that last lap, Valentin Mandernack had a slowdown penalty. That's why he's dropped back into 13th position. Marcus Jensen just behind him right now. Well, he's got a lot on his plate at the moment behind. He's dealing with Yartayan and Foren Lebigre, and right now he doesn't look fussed at the moment, Kenneth. He looks very stoic in the way that he's driving. This is all as expected.
That's the focus you got to carry here, especially at a track like Silverstone, where you're kind of on edge with this Dallara IR01. And Jensen, if you kind of remember last week's affair at Monza, he had some trouble going into the turn 1 chicane. He had a problem. There was a car that got into him, kind of on the back foot in a large pack of cars, a kind of accordion. He got damaged, and his race was pretty much set in stone near the rear of the field. So Jensen is looking for somewhat of a comeback here in the point standings and riding P9, as he can be a little bit stoic here in the first 7 laps. That's where he wants to be, as he ride on board with Valentin Mandernack a couple positions behind.
He certainly is. Nunez, by the way, has just jumped into the pits. That's why he's dropping down the timing order, but they can see him. Marcos Nunez then taking the call. Could only last 7 laps there, Peter, on the soft compound tyres. We expect him to go hard compound to the end. And you would argue with 32 laps of action as he goes around the circuit, he's really got to do a lot of work to go and fuel save out there as we look at Omar Bahar driving in VR, virtual reality.
Yeah, I love watching the drivers when they've got their virtual reality headsets on as well. It all looks so calm and composed, but the immersion of one of these pieces of technology, it just boggles the mind, the level of sophistication of not only the VR headsets, but also the iRacing simulator itself, and the endorsement you get from real-world racing drivers of how accurate the sim is now as well, and how important it is for training and for competition as well. And really, there's no better way to get the immersion than with a force dynamic simulator, where the actual simulator rig will move around and pitch with true G-force replication, continuous rotation, and a high rotation center to make it feel like you are in one of these Dallara IR01s.
I tell you what, these 6 at the front, well, they are definitely going to be looking at that center of rotation here today. They know there's been a lot of rotation with their positions over the course of the race. They know that strategy is going to be important to that at the moment. We focus there on the number 69 machine, Martin van Lozenoord, getting very aggressive up behind, going through then the village section into the loop at turn number 4 before Aintree Corner follows here. This big left that leads onto the Wellington Straight. And we've seen a couple of moves happen here. Ugolotti and Toth, though, they're going to be the big unknowns in this group right now, Kenneth, as Ugolotti takes an absolute battering over the inside curbs just behind. There is the top 2, Ben Fuller, Peter Berryman. One, of course, driving for SDK Gaming. The other one, of course, driving for Apex Racing UK, the technical partnership. But the key is going to be, how do those two manage with 2 more unknown drivers that they've been racing against this season in the forms of Ugolotti and Toth?
Well, I don't think at this point, Jake, in this part of the race, lap 9 of 40, there's still a long way to go. You're not going to necessarily worry about them too much. Yes, they're in the draft. Yes, they're in key position to probably take it away if they want to down these long straights here at Silverstone. But you're not going to worry about it too much, only because you've got Technical Alliance teammates with you as well. And you also got some competitors in the field in that team that are still trying to get up to the field, much like Johan Harth is doing right now from P7. So right now, early on, Jake, I wouldn't say it's a huge worry, but keep it in mind if they really want to be aggressive.
They can see Van Lozenoord and Ugolotti on your screen right now. Ugolotti very much just keeping everything together, knows what he needs to do at this stage in time, but I'm sure that Van Lozenoord is trying to eye up maybe an opportunity to look at Peter Berryman. We haven't really talked about pit lane too much. It is one of the slower pit lanes, Peter, out there because, of course, it's one of the very unique pit lanes in the sense that it really does cut quite a bit of the final section of track through Club Corner. So it has to be a slow speed limit so that you don't take advantage by having it quicker to go into the pits to finish a lap.
Yeah, we've got quite a long pit delta here. We expect about 41 seconds to come in, take your pit service, fuel and tyres and get back going and onto circuit again. So yeah, it is going to check your, it is really going to change your track position quite dramatically. As you can see, Nunez, our first pitter, he's down in 19th spot at the moment. And we'll see how he filters out. It'll be fascinating actually to see how he filters out throughout the race. He's going to be on a different strategy from everyone. Only driver to take the soft tyre in qualifying. All the rest opting for the hard to make sure they had the hard tyre for the race. Now here comes, that's a coordinated change there. Ben Fuller's been doing the heavy lifting for the first 10 laps. And now Peter Berryman is going to go for it as well. And he's been able to sit there comfortable. But now, will we see Ben Fuller go with him, or will we see Ben Fuller back up Van Lozenoord into the chasing pack?
And now you start to look as well at the 90 on the bottom of your screen. Johan Harth being absolutely hounded by Jensen and Lebegra. Here comes Jensen in towards turn number 1. Very committed. Room having to be given by both of them as they go through. They still fight all the way through farm in towards the village. What a defense that is by Johan Harth. He had to go for it. Just in the background there, that's Mandanark getting the place done on Jarl Tayen, moving up another place. So we are starting to reach that place. And again, there is another look then in the battle for 7th place as finally Marcus Jensen, half a lap there, Kenneth, of side-by-side battling, and he's got himself up into P7. Drivers, you feel, starting to wonder about where they want to be track-wise before that pit stop.
Yeah, and especially in the draft, if it's going to be for saving fuel to make that fuel window, then in this case, Johan Harth is making the right call. But you can also wonder at the same time whether it's just him struggling with the race car right now. Over the course of the laps, we've seen Johan Harth be way oversteery on those hard tires, so his car is just really hard to handle at this point in the race, and Marcus Jensen is just taking the opportunity. He says, hey, I've got the draft, I can get the position, I'm going to take it away, and I'm going to be able to keep myself right here tucked in front of this long line of cars. So we'll see exactly what happens with these guys as you look on board with Florian Lebegra, the O2 machine just behind these two. Ooh. He's going to look at Johan Harth going down pit road.
Yeah, that's a really aggressive decision then from Harth, pitting in only on the end of lap 11. So he's going to be diving into the pits. There you can see him right now, really slow speeds. They'll be traveling through just 55 kilometers an hour transit speed down pit lane. I can tell you this for a fact, you can probably do that speed on most dual carriageways in the United Kingdom. That's how slow they're having to go down this section of track. But as we get to see it, there has also been a change up near the front. It was for 5th position. Przemysław Lemonek is through now on top. You can see right now, there's the leading battle for Berryman and Fuller. Fuller at the moment in time here, Peter, is P5 in the championship. Yes, Costantini's race is pretty much over right now. He's 47 seconds adrift of the lead. But on top of all of what is going on here, Ben Fuller knows that he is playing the teammate's role here today for his technical partners that are there, especially the car in front of Peter Berryman. Berryman, over the course of those 2 laps from about lap 9, lap 10, was under pressure from Van Lozenoord. Do you feel that this move was to alleviate the pressure off of Peter Berryman?
I think that's the luxury that the Apex Racing team and SDK Gaming Group have, is that, yes, they have so many fast drivers at the front. There isn't much difference between all of the Apex and SDK Gaming drivers. Now who is this? Has gone off.
Jensen.
Is that Jensen? Yeah, Jensen with the
rear wings
black
off.
Number 12. The rear wings come off, so he's got the Indy Special on the go now, and that's game over really for Marcus Jensen at this level. And oh dearie me, don't think he saw who was that behind him. Was that Cedric Beale? No, okay.
Wow, so Marcus Jensen having it off at Chapel Corner and then trying to get that car recovered back to the pits. Martinez not really expecting that speed difference, so a huge element of drama then getting itself caught up in the early stages. So that's something to keep in mind. Tamas Simon has also dived down into the pits, or is going to be diving down into the pits at this stage. That's something else that we're keeping a little bit of a focus on. But there is your leading duo at this stage. Berryman leads, Fuller is in second. It is Van Loozenhoorn in third. And I've just noticed as well, Lemonek up to fourth. There's now been a 1 second gap between them. It's now a battle of 3 at the front here, Kenneth.
Yeah, it definitely is, and these guys have been doing a good job so far of really putting themselves away from the rest of the field. Normally in this series, you technically see a lot of the large packs, a lot of them really clustered in together for the first half of the race until the end, but these guys have done a nice job of separating themselves from everybody else. As you look from Marcus Jensen, a small mistake going into that corner, hits the grass, and this car does not like when you go onto a surface that isn't asphalt or tarmac, and he goes way around. That's the rear wing right there from the onboard of just behind him in Nunez, and then right there, close call with Jensen, as Jensen just cannot handle that race car. His wing is off, and the aerodynamics are all messed up.
They certainly were. That was Jorge Martinez there having himself a huge moment as in comes Przemysław Lemonek from fourth position. He'd made 2 overtakes over the last 3 laps to go and get himself in. Someone else there following in behind. That might be Cortese. I'm not too sure about that one there. It's going to be a very important level of racing that they've got at this point in time. But again, there's 3 at the front that are trying to break away. Berryman and, well, you've seen it so far quite a bit, Peter, how Peter Berryman has been on the front of the field for the majority of the races that we've seen. He likes to lead by example. He likes to lead there from the front of the field. And he's got the insurance policy of Fuller behind. Van Loozenhoorn will be quite happy, you would say, to just sit back there, wait, save a little bit of fuel if he can, try and get the extra lap that gives him more leeway in terms of what he wants his tyre strategy to be at the stops.
And I think that's something that Van Loozenhoorn did very well last week at Monza. He just kept himself quiet in the group, but made sure he was in the group and then went for it at the end of the race. The only thing that might be is we see Ben Fuller goes to pit lane, so he's the first of our leaders going in. So let's see where Berryman follows in. Does he go in the next lap or the one after that? And indeed, what does Van Loozenhoorn do? Will be fascinating to see. Now, I was going to say, I'm sure Ben Fuller will maybe remembering running into the back of Berryman at Spa at the end of the Kemmel Straight. I'm sorry for reminding you of that one. Sorry.
Yeah, Matteo Ugalotti's also in, and you would figure that Ugalotti's trying to cover off Lemonek in terms of position. Well, what I find here, Kenneth, really interesting about strategy is you can see Berryman hard over to the left-hand side. He wants to break some toe here as they go in towards Brooklands Corner. What I find interesting is the fact that Marcos Nunez, you can see him on the ticker as he goes up through. He is right there with Johan Harth at the moment for position. As into the pits comes another driver then looking to make that stop. So we're seeing these drivers coming in. That's Cedric Beale this time into the lane, but we're seeing here drivers all over thinking about where they need to be, and it is key. Berryman is very, very aggressively trying to break toe from Van Loozenhoorn. I think he sussed it out.
He definitely is, and now they're going to play this game of when they're going to go down pit road, these top 2. But what I'm interested about this race so far is the fact that these guys are not necessarily striking the fuel window significantly. We mentioned that lap 15 to 17, actually, according to the drivers yesterday, they told me that that was going to be the mark to hit in terms of the most of the field. But a lot of these drivers are going in early, as Peter Berryman's going to hit just the edge of the fuel window at lap 15. Interesting to see how these drivers are kind of splitting this apart via the strategies going a little bit earlier versus going a little bit later. It's definitely a very strategic call by these guys, and it's all going to be about track position for that second stop. As Berryman goes in, David Toth is also going to join him in the fight.
Yeah, he certainly is, and both Mandanark and Labigra, the 2 R8G cars behind, also diving in then to the pits as well. There you can see those 2 looking to get their service. They'll get a fresh set of boots, they'll get a bit of fuel, and they'll get themselves back out and racing again. That leaves Van Loozenhoorn all on his own, and what I found so interesting there, Peter, about that last lap going through, Van Loozenhoorn wanted nothing of trying to follow Peter Berryman. Peter Berryman just turned a 5.89 kilometre track into about a 6.5 kilometre track with the way he was driving that last lap.
Yeah, I wonder if that's maybe a hint back to the last couple of laps at Monza a week ago, where there was quite a bit of weaving back and forth from both drivers in that position. So I wonder if there's just a little bit of mind games going on there at the very front of this field. I mean, this has been a serious battle between Van Loozenhoorn, Berryman and others so far this season. But Van Loozenhoorn, I wonder if he's trying to back time to the end of the race, trying to do 2 longer stints than the rest on his hard tyres and maybe throw mediums on at the end? And would that give him an edge over his competitors in the final stint? It might well do.
Well, he's diving into the pit, so we're going to see how this plays out or not. Peter Berryman out and away. And remember, now this is key. Berryman's come out behind Ben Fuller, so Fuller's used the undercut to his advantage. He's got back ahead, so that's going to be where the fight is with that car there. Number 55, Ben Fuller, coming down the hangar straight under the Johnny Walker Bridge and now heading towards the right of Stowe corner. Such a committed corner. 220 kilometers an hour they're going through the track, dropping away as they go through the Vale and into Club Corner. In his box now is Martin van Loosenoord, and it is very narrow on pit exit as well. He's got to get up to speed pretty quickly as and when he leaves. He leaves his box right now. Has he mastered the overcut to perfection? Through's going to go Ben Fuller here, and I think Peter Berryman's going to follow in suit. He does, and just like that, it is as you were with the top three. But crucially, with that run, if you look ever so slightly behind Martin van Loosenoord there, Kenneth, the key is you've got Przemysław Lemonek there, who's looking to be aggressive in 4th place.
He is going to be very aggressive at this stage of the race, but I like the placement here for Martin van Loosenoord, especially with that overcut. He decides to get out. The top two go by, but that's not a big deal just because he's right within the draft. He's within a second, so it doesn't matter what he does on track unless he makes a grand mistake. He's going to keep in with these drivers in tow, and he's going to stay within this top 3-4 as long as he can. It's going to be very pivotal here at this point, considering that Van Loosenoord is going to be looking for 2 in a row, which would really shoot him up in the point standings really against these guys in the Apex Racing camp.
Let's talk about points here. It's 25 points for a victory. He's got a very nice bit of 2 wide here as Tamas Shimon deals with the R8G cars. 25 for a win, 21 for second, 18 for third. There's 15, 12, 10, and from 10 goes all the way down to 1 point increment. And of course, the fastest lap bonus point for the driver who does set the fastest lap in this race as we focus again. Shimon having to really defend here into Stowe Corner. It's going to be a long road around. What a move by car number 46, Valentin Mandanat, that immediately opens the door for his teammate Florian Lebigre, who does clip a bit of that anti-cut curb on the inside, but still gets the move done. That's wonderfully constructed. We talk points now at this point in time, Peter, because Berryman is there in second place. That's 21 points. His nearest rival, Johan Harth, that's P7. That's a lot less points by comparison.
Yeah, this is looking pretty good at the moment for Peter Berryman. 3 points in the lead coming into this race from Johan Harth, with Van Loosenoord 13 points further back. Ben Fuller is a fair old chunk back. He's on 46 points, 32 from Berryman. So that may already put paid to his championship chances, or indeed put paid to his preference in the team. He may well have to play second fiddle here to his de facto teammate Peter Berryman. It'll be interesting to see how that one comes out. However, this is exactly what Martin van Loosenoord needs, is Przemysław Lemonek joining him in the front group. This is what he's been missing all season. He's had to fight the Apex and SDK cars all by himself, and now he's got an ally alongside him.
He certainly does. The last time that Przemysław Lemonek was up this high in the order, he was up to as high as second at Spa-Francorchamps. He had an issue at Blanchimont, absolutely totaled the car, and that was the end of that. Lap 19, we are going on to start here of 40 here from the Silverstone circuit, round 5 of 10. Here in the Force Dynamics Dallara iRacing Grand Prix Championship. This is the halfway stage of the race right now, and they know 1 week from today they are heading to Hockenheim. But for the moment at least, it is Ben Fuller who has the control. Hasn't started as well here, Kenneth, on the front row has Ben Fuller since the opening round of the championship, and that got paid to dividend as here comes Martin van Loosenoord looking to set up the move. He's 16 points back on the swing right now. That is a 6-point overtake that he's just managed to get in. He's gone from 16 points back to 10 back on that move alone.
That's an imperative move right there for the driver. That's 69 for RAG Esports. He is definitely, or Predator Sim Racing rather, I should say, he is definitely on that route to try and go for the lead. Not sure if he's going to really attack this time by, considering that he's in this sort of sandwich between Berryman and Fuller, but he is putting himself in a nice spot to go for that pitch strategy, and especially with his teammate in Lemonek just right behind him, they can try and work together against these two up at the front and be able to make a dynamic duo, make a power move up near the front of the field, and maybe set themselves up correctly for the second pit stop that we'll see in a couple laps time.
We do know that Martin van Loosenoord has 2 lap fresher tyres in comparison to Ben Fuller, 1 lap fresher in comparison to Peter Berryman, as it is now very firmly the top 5 up there at the front. Przemysław Lemonek there in 4th, and the quiet driver there at the back, Matteo Ugolotti, in 5th position for TQ Engineering. And the group behind as well, there has been a change of position there. David Toft now behind Johan Haaf. Haaf on 10 points as we go through, as really we're seeing here, Peter, a really important battle here for 2nd and 3rd. This is where money is made in the championship.
Yeah, that is where Martin van Loosenoord really had to get in between the top 2 of Ben Fuller and Peter Berryman, trying to shake the rhythm up a little bit and say, you know what, you've not got this all your own way, guys. I'm going to get in and ruffle some feathers. And Van Loosenoord looking very racy here, nearly clipping the back of Fuller there as well. So maybe feeling like he wants to make his way to the front, or indeed try to force Fuller into a mistake as they come through Woodcote.
Oh, fantastic battling. Berryman's going to come straight back at Kopp's corner. What a move. That is such a committed corner to go and get a pass done, and he has managed it fantastically. Berryman back up now into 2nd position. Van Loosenoord will know better than to leave the door open like that. He's got more to come along with as they move on forward here in this race. But can Van Loosenoord come back? But we're going to have a little look a bit further back down the field. Now, this is James J. Pinsker out there at the moment. Now, he's managed to put on his paint different submissions. He's asked some fans of his to put submissions, some quotes on his car to see where they go around. It's a little bit difficult to read here as they slide on through. But really, Kenneth, you see just how important. Look at that. Drew apparently was here. We don't know which sort of Drew we've got there, but shake and bake on the side. And we believe that's our producer, Drew, who apparently was there on the side of the car.
I'm not sure who put that submission in, Jake, but he's here and he's there on the car right now. I think by the end of this inaugural season, Jake, we're going to see James Pinsker get the most colorful car award. He's been changing paint schemes each and every week, and he's had some of the best looking Dallara Aero ones that we've seen in this entire field. Pinsker, though, not having the race that he really anticipated. He was struggling early on, kind of resented going for softer tires and the softer tire compounds over in qualifying, kind of regretting that a little bit, but nonetheless, he's trying to make the best of what he can right now in P20, but can't forget that car in this field nonetheless.
Oh, you certainly can't. And, well, Kenneth, I'll just go to you quickly because you've got some news on the R8G drivers, Mandanak and Labigra.
Well, these two working together right now, Jake, they were told to keep pushing at this stage of the race. They're currently sitting 8th and 9th right now, a little bit further behind this main group, but we talked about Lemonek and Van Loosenoord being together as teammates. These two right together could be in a nice place to set themselves up for the final laps in this event from Silverstone. Florian was actually celebrating when he got by Thomas Shimon a couple laps ago. He said, let's go. And now that they're together, they're going to be on this type of plan to put themselves, get a blueprint in, and maybe execute it near the end of this race, guys.
Champagne may be on the horizon for Valentin Mandanak. He is from Reims, which is Champagne, capital of France, as they make that charge on the Hamilton Straight once again. But the front 5 looking fantastic in this race, and you can see them. They are 8th and 9th, and they are trying to work together. They've got about 2 seconds here, Peter, to go through as we take a look over towards the leaders. And this is from the back of Ben Fuller's perspective here at this point in time, making that run in towards Brooklands corner. And how difficult is it going to be doing all of the heavy lifting at the front of the field, Peter?
Well, it's certainly not good for the fuel consumption, that's for sure. That's something that Ben Fuller will have to sacrifice on here as they go past Brooklands, as our danger man of Nunez in the 23 goes for his pit stop. That's going to be really tough to get to the end of the race. He might need a splash and dash at the end, which will ruin the strategy, unfortunately. But yeah, just coming back to that, you're talking about Champagne. We've just gone past the British Racing Drivers Club at Brooklands there a moment ago. But there's lots of virtual champagne flowing there at the moment. But also, Peter Berryman just proves that you can overtake at Kops. Someone get Christian Horner on the phone.
Well, that's going to be always a very contentious point of a fiery season, but let's get ourselves a fiery season continuing here. The battle for 8th place, of course, on the bottom of your screen, the leading 5 up on front on top at this point in time. And it looks again like Van Loosenoord is the closest to looking to make some moves, but again, Peter Berryman very aggressive with that line, able to close up the gap to Fuller under braking into the village corner, turn number 3. always an important section. When this track was redesigned in 2011, Kenneth, this was the sort of track where they wanted to promote overtaking. They didn't want this just to be a high downforce, you can't pass track. They wanted 3 different zones where you can go and get passes done.
Yeah, and they've definitely made that possible here in this newest version of the Silverstone circuit. And still, even here on iRacing, you have a lot of passing opportunities. The drivers mentioned that turn 1, turn 3, out of the hangar straight, there were a lot of places that you can really make moves on drivers right in front of you. But we haven't really talked about much about car placement in this track, Jake. You mentioned Peter Berryman, the way he's been able to really make this speed out of this track. It's all due to the way he places this car, especially with the amount of downforce that this Dallara IR01 has. You can really send it compared to a lot of other cars in the service in many of the corners. So it's all about where you put your car at the right place, given the speed that you're making here on this track. And Berryman's doing the most of it right now. It's really put him in a good spot.
Let's get ourselves then a little listen to the screaming engines around here, this beautiful Silverstone circuit. Let's take ourselves iRacing full throttle. Well, we saw over the course of that last lap that there had been a change for position for the race lead. It was coordinated going to Copse Corner, and it was Peter Berryman getting through on Ben Fuller. We saw this exactly in the first stint, Peter. This was an important moment in time to get that done because Berryman wants to go and exercise some ability to attack, knowing that Fuller's tyres are going to start getting that little bit more scrubbed and start to hit that proverbial cliff.
Yeah, I think this is a critical moment of the race for championship leader Peter Berryman. He's really got to push 100% right now as well. He's got to force Martin van Loozenaar to also match that pace, because if they're sitting in the group, Martin van Loozenaar's fuel save strategy is going to work out perfectly, and he would then afford himself the opportunity to put medium tyres on at the end when the Apex and SDK cars would maybe have to go for the hard, which could make a big difference. So I think now we're going to see Peter Berryman really push on hard, dragging Ben Fuller with him and try to force the gap. He did a 127.6 last time by, 127.3 for Fuller. So Fuller's still got some good speed in the car, but I think this next lap or two could be really, really quick for the front pair.
They certainly can. There's the battle, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. Great credit to the R8G cars to get themselves onto the back of Hearth and Toth. And Toth, of course, in the wannabe sim racing team, wants to try and defend as much as he can against the number 90, who is second in the championship at this point in time. Kenneth, you've been seeing drivers, they're going to be trying to work for that bonus point indicated in purple. Marcus Jensen, who's out of this race, has it at the moment, but you've got a bit of information about what these drivers are going through to get that fastest lap.
Indeed, I do. Fastest laps here at Silverstone are all going to be about the first handful of laps on these tires. We didn't really talk too much about tire compounds apart from the fact that most of the field was on hards, but if let's say you go for the mediums or the softs, whatever you go for, the tires are really going to last for the first handful of laps. That's where you can really find that sweet spot, but then after that the car is going to continue to slow down and get worse in handling as time goes by. It was quite the opposite from what we saw at Monza last week, right? Because we saw the fact that cars were actually getting faster over time. They're getting slower over time. They're faster early on, and that's going to be what we're going to watch as Toth and Harth going down pit road this time by.
And what's crucial there is Johan Harth actually made the move coming in towards Stowe Corner before both of them decided to dive into the pit. So you tell me track position doesn't matter? It very much did there for Johan Harth, the Frenchman from Ballarat-Le-Ban, just a element away. Also, Tamas Shimon is down in the lane as well from 10th position at the time. So they've come down in and made those stops. But, you know, this is more than just as we go through. Let's get yourself, though, a chance to join the party as well, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to be a fantastic sim racer, join the levels of the elites here today. Make sure you log on to iRacing.com today. Start your journey with us here, of course, at iRacing for a brilliant, brilliant time. But it is focus now here, Peter. Those front five, they know what they're racing for. They are racing for a lot more than just pride. They know there's points at stake, but also there's the payouts as well. For the season, $10,000 for a win, $4,000, of course, for second, and $2,000 for third. But crucially, each race, $300 for the winner, $200 for second, $100 for third. That's going to be really important to deal with as drivers look to try and book a podium place.
Absolutely, and a lot of these drivers are proper professional sim racers, so they are going for the prize money. That's part of how they pay their bills, if you like, as Peter Berryman onto pit lane. So he's the first to jump from that leading group. And Fuller and Van Lozenoord continue on. We also have Mandernack and Lebiger for Predator Racing coming into the pit lane right now. So Fuller now has his mirrors full of Van Lozenoord. What will Martin Van Lozenoord do? What will he decide is his strategy? We think then that, Berryman will be coming for hards, but Van Lozenoord having a look here, and this is where the strategy could come in, because Fuller could play the team game here. He could hold up Van Lozenoord, and that would allow Berryman a big advantage.
We're on board here with Ben Fuller. Only Berryman and the 2R8G cars pitted. So Fuller, remember, pitted earlier, 1 lap earlier on that opening stint to Peter Berryman. It's Berryman this time who goes earlier, and I think this is an important strategy call here, Kenneth. I believe that Ben Fuller is being deployed in this role right now. Stay out as long as you can. Hold up Van Lozenoord and Lemonek as much as possible.
And you got to also think here, Jake, that Fuller and these guys probably took notes about what Martin Van Lozenoord did. Remember, he was the longest to stay out, apart from the other driver in Yartien, to stay out all the way until maybe lap 17, lap 18, until they finally went down pit road and made the overcut strategy work. So Fuller, maybe behind the wheel with his team and communication, said, hey, we saw what Martin Van Lozenoord did. It worked in his case. Now try that for yourself up at the front of the field.
Now, the next question I ask is out of the pits, just behind them, then going through. You just see it there from Ugolotti's perspective ever so briefly. That was Jorge Martinez that they had to get through. That's crucial for the front four. The next question I ask here, Peter, is does anyone stay out long enough to try medium compound tyres?
I think that is the strategy that Van Lozenoord intended to do. However, that might be getting chucked in the bin at the moment with Ben Fuller here leading this group. I don't think Ben Fuller is either using all of his pace or has all of the pace here, but he's critically got to keep Martin Van Lozenoord behind him, because that will play right into the hands of his Apex SDK Gaming stablemate Peter Berryman as they go through Cops. I really don't know how this one's going to play out. I wonder if Fuller might try the medium strategy as well to cover off Van Lozenoord, but this is the thing, Van Lozenoord was, fighting all on his own, but at least he does have Przemysław Lemonek right behind him as an ally when it comes into the final lap punch-up.
Absolutely, and the key here is I think Fuller and Lemonek are going to be the two who go in together. at this point. There goes Fuller, there goes Lemonek. Oh, it's almost as if I know what I'm talking about here as they go into the pits. Brilliant strategy work then from the Predator sim racing cars, the Predator gaming cars. They knew exactly what they needed to do. One needs to cover off Ben Fuller. Van Loosenoord, you send him out as long as you possibly can. We're on lap 30 of 41. We've got 11 laps to go here, and we are right in the range. And there you can see, that is Jarl in 5th position. And look at that. He has got himself those very, very cool glasses, Kenneth.
Well, you can say, Jake, that Jarl put himself into swag mode with the glasses, and he's got straight out of something at the bottom. You can't necessarily see what it says up at the bottom, but it is definitely swag nonetheless. And Jarl, like I mentioned, one of the drivers that really made the overcut strategy work on the first round of pit stops along with Martin Van Loosenoord, so we should expect him to do the same. Let's take a look a little bit further back at Alejandro de Campo, the 21 machine, currently in pit road as right now.
Yeah, he just dives into the pits. Of course, Jarl they're managing to make that happen through the powers of Zoom, ladies and gentlemen, and that is how we grab all of our drivers here today. As into the pits then comes Alejandro Del Campo, and the O2 machine as well is going to be looking for a good run today. But there's the 21 down in the pits as we get a little look then at Martin Van Loosenoord, and crucially has built a wonderful gap over Ugolotti over the course of that last lap. Ugolotti, I think, has to now bite the bullet and will do actually just fine. You're going to see him going in. There's Florian Lebigra at this point in time. He's making that charge in that second pack. He's just behind Toth. Mandanakis' teammate has just got in front here, Peter. So he's got a bit of work to do here to get himself back into play.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be able to do it. Florian is an excellent young driver as well, running for the RHG Esports effort as well. Martinez recovering from that big scare with Marcus Jensen early on as well. Looking at the lap times, Martin Van Loosenoord really starting to push now in that clean air. He's actually going much faster. In fact, he's going half a second faster than he was behind Ben Fuller. So, well, we talk about thousandths and hundreds of a second in this championship normally, so that shows you how much the pace was backing up for Martin Van Loosenoord.
There's Michele Costantini, 12th position. He'll only be getting 4 points for his effort to 12th position at this point in time. Now, the last time here, Kenneth, he was so far down the order, he took fastest lap bonus point away.
He definitely did, and he might be looking for that strategy once we go on later in this race. Michele Constantini, of course, the driver who had issues at the opening lap of this event, so why not go for the strategy? Why not go as long as you can? And then maybe with less than 10 laps to go for a medium, a soft compound tire, and then run for the fastest lap. That is going to get you a point. It is going to salvage something, Jake, despite some of the issues that, at least in this case, Michele has fought tonight here from Silverstone. There you watch Martin Van Loosenoord, the driver who continues to command this race. And much like the first round of stops, Jake, he is again going for the overcut.
That was a very exasperated look there, Peter, on Martin's face. He knew that he was either coming in this lap or the next, and that was probably a little bit of conversation with his team. Am I pitting or am I not pitting? And the answer was, no, you're staying out for another lap. And we probably would expect him to come down soon. He surely can't go this long on the stint of fuel. He's really been trying to maximize it, and he's actually been doing really well in terms of his time. He's only been a couple of tenths to about half a second slower over the course of those last few laps. He's only 4 tenths slower than Berryman, and he's on brand new hard compound tires.
Yeah, I do think that Van Loosenoord is going to throw the dice here and go on to mediums. I think he can make them last over the 8 remaining laps when he comes into pit lane. I think we will see him into pit lane right now. And if not, well, he's played an amazing fuel save game if that is the case. But I'd be very surprised if that was the case. So we should expect Martin Van Loosenoord to come in and throw on. I reckon he is going to throw on the medium tyre, and that's going to give him an edge over the Apex Racing and SDK gaming cars as well. But Peter Berryman, when he's needed to turn the tap on, when he's needed to put the afterburners on, he has been absolutely superb. He is not the championship leader by accident, as Loosenoord does come in.
Yeah, he finally had to go in, and he does so. He'll have 8 laps to go when he comes out of the pit. We expect him to be behind Berryman and Fuller when he makes his stop, but he'll have the advantage, we believe, on tyre, as he may go to the yellow-walled mediums. He has been so patient again in this race, not pushing the boat out too far, knowing exactly what sort of level and limit he's got when it comes to strategy. And if he has mastered every single element, he may be racing for the first time this season back-to-back winners. There are the leading duo that we believe they are going to be, of course, of Peter Berryman and Ben Fuller. We're on board with Ben Fuller in the STK gaming car, making his charge through, and immediately out and away. They're going to go zooming by, but the key is going to be, what tyre are you on, Martin? Martin is on, I believe, the hard compound tyre, coming back out again. So he did not believe that the gamble was correct to go to the yellow walled medium there, Kenneth. That's incredible.
It's an interesting decision. You probably would expect him to go for the softer compound, but instead, he's going to stay with status quo, and he's going to try and tail behind the top 2 leaders. It's interesting now because there's more distance covered between Van Lozenoord and Fuller and Berryman. 1, 2, 3, they're all kind of more separated than they were at the first stop of the races. Look at this battle right here from 5th on back. That was a car to the inside. Johan Harth trying to split so far the RAG Esports camp, and Labigra and Mondernach, and he is very aggressive. Remember, he is not finished outside of the podium this entire season. This night could be the chance that it changes altogether, and he's going to be really up front trying to make sure that these moves are made.
Exactly. Johan Harth has got to get to P5. Gap between Fuller and Van Lozenoord, 1 second and a little bit of spare change on the back. So Ben Fuller's got to stay really resolute to the back of Peter Berryman here in this race if he is wanting to keep Martin Van Lozenoord at bay. And that is the aim and the game plan that those 2 cars at the front want to do. Keep car 69 out of reach as they go and battle. If they aren't managing to do that, then they're going to be in a bit of trouble out there on circuit. So that's going to be what they're looking at. And already you can see that gap, 0.8 of a second here. Van Lozenoord, of course, has got much fresher tyres. This is going to be a big undercut in terms of how this race is going to go. Worth noting as well, Florian Labigra has dropped back into 8th place. I think there may have been contact, Peter. I'm just hearing from Johan Harth and Florian Labigra in the O2 coming to Stowe.
Oh dear. Well, that was very much a French flavour there, a battle between Mandernach, Harth and Labigra. So it's been a bruising day for Johan Harth. He's been the most consistent driver in the championship so far, getting on the podium in every single race so far, but not been easy for Johan Harth, the iRacing World Rallycross champion. And, well, they say each driver now at the front has kind of had a turn of a slightly off day. And, well, unfortunately, it's Johan's turn today as Michele Costantini, with new tyres on, puts in the fastest lap of the race. So he's fighting as hard as he possibly can. And Van Lozenoord in these last 2 laps has really reeled in Ben Fuller and is right there in the fight.
Oh, you're going to see this. Oh, jumping up there. That's going to be a very heavy hit there for a very small bit of contact between both Labigra and that was Johan Harth. So very quickly, that is trouble. But Van Lozenoord has got himself to where he wants to. On the back, defensive line being taken then by Ben Fuller. How many times this season have we seen Martin in a position in the final few laps here to try and make a move? He can't get the run through Farm Corner into Village, turn number 3. So he's going to have to be patient a little bit more. But Kenneth, how many times have we seen Van Lozenoord in this position and win the race?
I think too many times to count here, Jake, and too many times we've seen the last lap pass make sure that was going to be the part for the race win. We've seen many race winning passes happen within the last 5. So coming to 5 laps to go here from Silverstone, the passes are going to start to be made and the execution is going to be key. You saw Martin Van Lozenoord peek to the outside a little bit, was not able to do it on Ben Fuller, but you got to think next time by, when he can get a straight in, get some draft in as well, he's going to be on the attack.
Well, the moment that Ben Fuller wants to give himself some space, he's all over the back of Peter Berryman, and this is making it so difficult. The Hangar Straight's going to be coming up pretty soon, and if you want to go and make the move, if you're Martin Van Lozenoord, then you feel that the Hangar Straight's going to be one of the key places to get it done. The only advantage that Ben Fuller has, he can really close in. He might actually just have to go for the overtake here. He lifted out of it. He can't do much about it. Van Lozenoord took advantage. Surely there, Peter. Ben Fuller, despite the team orders, had to go for a move to keep that place.
Yeah, pass or be passed there, I think, was the situation for Ben Fuller. And yeah, he tried his best, but Van Lozenoord has got a huge pace advantage at the moment. He was 0.8 of a second quicker than both Fuller and Berryman last time by. So he is absolutely flying right now, and he's going to go around at Maggots and Beckett. My apologies, into the loop section. And can he get it done? Berman goes very defensive into the loop, and Fuller's going to make it 3 wide as they go up to Aintree. They're absolutely flat out through there, and they're going to go side by side down to Brooklands.
Oh, this is incredible stuff. Berryman doesn't know when to say die as he goes through then into Brooklands. This is a fantastic battle for the lead. Just enough room being given. We see it there from the perspective of Ben Fuller, and Van Lozenoord has got the position that he's wanted. But crucially now, Kenneth, the next question, can he break away? Here comes Berryman back again.
Berryman going to try to go to the outside in turn 1. He's not going to have the ability to make the move happen, but we saw at Monza just how much they were swerving to try and make passes in the last couple laps. Berryman all over the rear wing of Martin Van Lozenoord, and he's going to try and take revenge from Monza last week.
That was the former turn 1 of Kops that we nearly saw the move done, but patience needed. Don't count Ugolotti out, by the way, in 4th position in this race. He's coming back to this group because they have been so aggressively battling here at this point in time. But there is Matteo Ugolotti in 4th position. Goodness me, he's got the best seat in the house, Peter.
Yeah, and he's got some of the best tyres in the house as well. The only driver who's got newer tyres is Martin Van Lozenoord. Both Fuller and particularly Berryman are on the older tyres right now. Berryman is going to have to use every last bit of skill that he has in these last few laps to stay up in the podium fight. It's going to be hard work, and you can already see Martin Van Lozenoord already starting to ask some big questions of our championship leader, Berryman.
Yeah, let's get a look here. This is Valentin Mandanark, who I believe is in a whole heap of trouble going towards Stowe Corner. He goes over to the outside, and there's a squeeze, and there's a heavy hit. Finds the tyres there down at the bottom of Stowe Corner there. Johan Hart was trying to try and make sure that it was going through. That was the sort of case there, Kenneth, of either you lift or you are going to have an accident.
Well, in the final 5 laps, you have to be as aggressive as possible. And if that means pinching the other car to your side as much as you can, then that's as much as you're going to go. And we kind of saw this similar incident with Mandarnak, Jake, at Monza last week, going into turn 1, where he was battling side by side. The other car on the inside pinches to try and make the corner, then gets into Mandarnak, and then Mandarnak goes hard into the inside wall. 2 times in a row for him, unfortunately, that it's gone down. And Mandarnak, after having a strong Dallara IR1 all race long, is going to have to suffice for P18 at the moment.
He certainly is. 4 in the leading train. Just 3 laps to go. We've got ourselves everything that we want, and we know only one driver can come out with the victory. Berryman trying to follow so aggressively in the wheel tracks of Martin Van Lozenoord, who's extending this track out longer than 5.89. We know that Van Lozenoord's got 2-lap pressure tyres. Ugolotti getting very close there and sliding down the inside. Oh, he looks for the move on Ben Fuller. Tried it at the loop. Contact! Round he goes. Matteo Ugolotti's podium chances go up in smoke.
That's such a pity for Matteo Ugolotti. He was 3/10 quicker than even leader Van Lozenoord last time by, and just a little bit of side-to-side contact, and that was enough to throw Ugolotti off the scent. So Fuller lives to, well, just about lives to fight another day. But do you know who's played that into favour there? Peter Berryman. That is Christmas come early for the Northern Irishman.
Oh, it certainly has, and it gives him a couple of laps to focus here to stay with Martin Van Lozenoord as and when he can. He knows he's got to stay within range if he wants to try and make this a victory. He knows he can't afford to drop time over the course of these laps. He's got to get to within, you would say here, Kenneth, 0.3 of a second. But before we talk about that battle for the lead, let's talk about what happened to Ugolotti then as he was going through. He saw the opportunity open up for himself here as he went through. The door opened up then by Ben Fuller. He looked to the inside. He looked like he got the move completely done. Little bit of contact on the exit as they were pushing against each other for room on the track. And then just like that, Kenneth, around you go.
Yeah, that was in the loop section that Ugolotti went around. And in that place, it's heartbreaking for Ugolotti because he played the strategy correctly. He had the position, and he was catching up to the top 3. Lord knows that he could probably make a move if he was in that right spot. But unfortunately, the contact is made. Ugolotti goes around, and at least the good thing for him is that he's going to stay in 4th. But a chance at a podium is definitely gone with 2 laps to go. Now the question is, Jake, what do these guys in Berryman and Fuller do to try and catch up to Martin Van Lozenoord with that attempted pass from the driver, the number 98? They're now stuck on the back foot behind this 69. So how can they try and play this coming to the last lap of the race?
I think Fuller's really frustrated here, Peter. He knows he's quicker. He knows he can go by Berryman. He knows he's got the pace. He's seen about half a dozen opportunities in the last lap and a half. He just doesn't have the go from up above, so to speak. They are technical partners, SDK and Apex, and he's not got the cue from up above to say, you can go and make that overtake. There's championship implications.
Oh, they're even further beyond technical partners. They are part of the same team, the Apex Racing team, just running in 2 different liveries. And I do think that Ben Fuller will have team manager Alex Simpson on the radio saying, just stay there, hold position. We need Peter Berryman to have these points. He is the championship leader. Ben Fuller is quite a way off the championship lead. I'll be honest, if I was the team manager, I would make the same call.
This is very much like seeing an AlphaTauri try and get by a Red Bull at this point in time. It's that same dynamic as we start the final lap of the race here at Silverstone. Half distance in this championship, scored complete at the end of this lap. It's been a case of they've had nothing to fight back here, these two in second and third, between now and the end. Will there be a case of Ben Fuller trying to go for this place, or will he just have to sit back and watch as Peter Berryman mitigates most of the damage, Kenneth, here, done by Van Loosenoord, who's looking at this stage to go back-to-back for the first time this season?
Yeah, Berryman and Fuller at this point, they are way too far back. They would need Van Loosenoord to make a crucial mistake here in the last couple of corners. But for Van Loosenoord, his spotter Carroll told him to just bring it home. Van Loosenoord going to try and do just that.
He certainly is. In towards then the final sectors of this circuit, through Maggot to the left, the final chicane that they go through. Then it's Beckett's here, this right-hander, and finally Chapel, the left, that leads onto the hangar straight. Still no change of position between Berryman and Fuller. We don't expect it, but if Fuller's going to go for it now, he's going to go and make that attempt. But you can see he is lifting out. You can see it on the steering wheel there. He was really starting to drop back, and he knows that he has to settle for third here today. But for Martin Van Loosenoord, who makes his way through club for the final time, it is victory at its very finest. First driver back-to-back, his third race win of the season, and he tightens the strings further as he brings himself closer to Peter Berryman. We've got a showdown in this championship for the ages.
What a drive from Martin Van Loosenoord. So patient in those opening 2 stints when he had to save fuel. He had to be much more economical than his rivals and keeping that lead group. Very, very difficult, but he made it work. Superb.
Yeah, and now we've got a great fight here going on. Cedric Beale, just in front of him is Jorge Martinez. This is for 1 championship point. And just behind that as well, you've got Przemysław Lemonek, who's really dropped off, was right up there fighting for the victory. If he can get both of them, or maybe he can make huge contact there and go spearing off there at Beckett's corner. Lemonek's race over on the mediums, and that contact may have damaged the rear wing potentially on Cedric Beale, and that might have just cost him the run to fight for 1 championship point. It's Jorge Martinez in the number 32 who's holding on to that at the moment, and as they make the breaks into club, this fantastic final section of the track, it's going to be Martinez who holds on for 1 championship point. Kenneth, it proves every point matters in this series.
Every point does really matter. When you come to the halfway mark of the season, Jake, everything is going to be pretty much amplified when you get to the later rounds. As you take a look at your full race results here from Silverstone, Martin Van Loosenoord back-to-back.
Back-to-back indeed, wins by 2 seconds over Peter Berryman, with Ben Fuller finishing off in 3rd position. Matteo Galotti will take 4th, with Johan Hart in 5th and Tamas Shimon in 6th position. Yaltain will get 7th, with Peter Zuber in 8th. 9th in the end belonging to Gio Cortesi and Omar Bahar, rounding out then the top 10. It's Michele Costantini up in 11th. I am just trying to see whether there was a promotion on the final lap of the race, with David Toth maybe getting a penalty for a cut, which has dropped him back down to 13th place, with Alejandro Del Campo 14th and 15th in the end belonging to Jorge Martinez. There you see the bottom of the table. Drivers out: Jensen, Brian Lockwood, Sam Keitet. Today is not the day to be a racecraft car. All 3 of their entries today out of the race before it even really got started, and a real shame to see that overall. But really some intense battling, some incredible racing, and you know, Peter, you bring yourself into a situation where drivers have to be at their level best, and that was a performance on strategy mastered by Martin Van Loosenoord.
Yeah, he did exactly everything he needed to do. He had the right strategy, but he executed it, which is very, very difficult to do, but he managed it. 3 wins out of 5.
He certainly is. Kenneth Bueno stood by with Martin van Loosenoord right now, your race winner today.
Here with race winner, checkered flag holder Martin van Loosenoord for the third time this campaign, but the second time in a row. Martin, this strategy race was definitely one different from a lot of the others that we visited, or at least a lot of the other tracks that we visited. For you, though, as a team driver, how did this play out to your favor, and how were you able to manage that strategy against Berryman and Fuller to win this race?
Hi guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, first stint I was losing a few positions, got hit in the back, got a 4x for that. Just try to hold on to the guys in front, hoping to not have damage. And then I was just hoping to save a little fuel. So I was just watching the guy behind me, and he was carefully driving behind me. So maybe tried an overtake once and then. So the second stint, my teammate got behind me, so I knew I could fuel save just a little bit easier. So that would give me better tires, a lot better tires in the last stint. I just had to, the last few laps on my own without the draft. Those laps just had to be really good. No mistakes. The car's slower, so I was just a few tenths off Pete, and and the last stint brought me right back into their slipstream. So that was really good.
And talk about the pass near the last couple of laps. You guys were 3 wide at one point in the track, which I don't think we've seen all season long. But with these Dallara IR1s, it certainly is amazing to see. For you, though, making that pass from third on back, you were in the same position out of the first round of stops. But after this second round, how crucial was it to try and get the draft and to make those passes possible at this track, which is very tight in most places?
Yeah, it's really difficult for this track to make overtakes. So I was just waiting for Pete to reach lap 6 on the tires, lap 7. That's when they start to drop and the car starts to get unbalanced. And I was still at that point on new tires and fresh meat. So I was just waiting for that point. And I had great exits coming out of turn 4, I think it is, the tight left-hander. And I've been trying to overtake Pete in the second stint, I think, just to see how he was handling it. And just a little prep for what actually worked out in the end.
Well, it definitely worked out. Round 1, round 4, round 5. Checkered flags in all 3 of them. Martin, congratulations on this win here tonight from Silverstone. And, of course, wishing you the best of luck to try and go for 3 in a row when we go to Hockenheim next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Martin van Loosenoord, the winner here from the Silverstone circuit. We're going to kick back to P2, where you'll find Peter Berryman in the number 50 machine as he comes home just behind the race winner. Peter, this race obviously came down to a lot of pit calls at the end, a lot of separation through the field, and you had Ben Fuller behind you, which you kind of worked with all race long. Walk us through that relationship throughout the entire length of the race and what you guys were trying to do near the end.
So obviously everybody knows with the car that the slipstream is massive, so we had a quick discussion and decided to take a gamble to pit a bit early and see if we could use the undercut to create the gap. And I think we were maybe 0.1 or 0.2 of a second away from breaking the slipstream. And that was literally it at the end of the day. That 0.1 or 0.2 allowed Martin to then catch up. And at that point, he had fresher tires. There wasn't really anything I could do to fight back. So that was pretty much it.
Well, I mentioned earlier in the show about your car and especially the way you put your car on the track placement here at Silverstone with many of these corners being mostly full throttle and, of course, in the draft makes things way different. How important was it for you to place the car in the right place at these parts, in the apexes, in the corners? How important was that for you to make fast laps and to also keep yourself within the draft like you mentioned?
Yeah, it's quite a tricky track. It's quite deceiving, the closing rates and things like that, especially when you've got guys ahead are saving fuel and maybe the guy behind's trying to close that gap. So it can be quite tricky sometimes with the closing rates. So it's pretty important to keep an eye on behind just to make sure you understand what the guy's intentions are, because obviously most of these braking zones are extremely short. So if somebody goes for a dive or things like that, you really need to be almost have eyes in the back of your head to see what's going on.
Well, nonetheless, Peter, it's a fantastic race for you, and most likely points lead is still going to be in control by you by the time you reach Hockenheim. Congratulations on the P2 finish. Wishing you the best of luck when we go to Germany and Hockenheim next week.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Peter Berryman, the driver that comes home in P2, will get third place Ben Fuller in the 55 machine. Ben, I know from the drop of the green flag at Watkins Glen, you had the issue at the start of the race. It was a pole position qualifying effort for you. You kind of get revenge on this end qualifying wise. You start up front, you run up front for most of this race. Give us your perspective on how that was working through the field and, of course, trying to make pit road strategy work, exiting at the right time as well.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly disappointed with that, to be honest. Congrats to Martin. You know, he just had incredible pace there at the end. We tried our best, and it didn't really pay off. I felt like I did everything I needed to today. One of my better races. I think the pace was somewhat poor out front, but, you know, I kept it together and was doing the best that I could to help the team as much as I could. We gambled on a strategy to pit Peter early, trying to take me a little bit longer, and then Martin go very long and see what happened. And, you know, I tried to do the best I could to help the team, and it just didn't really pay off. So, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed, and hopefully things go better in the future.
Well, talk about this relationship here with this team. You guys have been working together well over the first couple of races, and it seems as though the relationship is still rather strong between you guys. You guys can still set laps. You guys can still put cars up at the front of the field. How is the mindset here for not only you, but for this team moving after round 5, and then, of course, the second half of the inaugural season to get yourself a chance at the championship?
Yeah, it's a massive advantage to have 4 guys mostly consistently be on the same pace, very, very quick at the top of the field always. You know, you can gamble on strategy a little bit more. You can try different things in practice that you maybe can't if you just got one fast guy or one guy on a team total. So the relationship with Apex is incredible. You know, these guys are top class, and I'm definitely feeling like I'm improving a lot right now. But, you know, we're just missing a little bit right now, and then I think we're going to skyrocket, and it's going to be an easy rest of the season if we can figure a couple things out here.
Well, it's certain that Apex Racing is strong, and you're definitely one of the strongest in the camp. And congratulations on the 3rd place finish here today from Silverstone. And, of course, wishing you guys the best of luck when we move forward to Hockenheim.
Thank you, guys.
That's 3rd place, Ben Fuller, all the top 3. Van Lozenord, Berryman, Fuller, the fantastic top 3.
And here is the title standings as things look at the halfway stage. 99 for Peter Berryman, but he's only got a 9-point gap to Martin Van Lozenord there in 2nd. Johan Haaf in range in 3rd, but everyone outside of that is 1 race win plus back. So it will be the 2 Apex cars versus Martin Van Lozenord. That is what the championship is going to look like in the second half of the season. Some very quiet performances. Give a shout out to Tamas Simon in 6th place there. He's doing a wonderful job so far this season. But very, very quickly, Peter, this is where we are next time out. It is Hockenheim. It is legendary.
It's a wonderful place, actually. I have to say, one of my favourite modern circuits in its current iteration, Hockenheim Ring, and the layout that we've got for next week is very special indeed. A flat-out run from the hairpin all the way up to the stadium and the Mobile One curve, which will be so fast. The draft battles are going to be crazy, and I, for one, cannot wait till we get there.
Same here as well. Massive thank you has to go to those who get it done. My partners alongside me here for the ride, Kenneth Bueno and Peter Mackay. My name's been Jake Sperry. What an incredible night of racing we have had. This was a race which was won on strategy. We talk about 0.1 of a second making a big difference. For the Apex and SDK gaming cars, they wanted to give us exactly what they needed. They didn't quite get it done. Martin Van Lozenord was marauding through the field. He's marauding up towards Peter Berryman in the points. But now is the time we fight. Jim Clark is looking over our next race of the championship. Hockenheim awaits 1 week from today.